It's amazing to think, isn't it, that that's the best election result that we could have hoped for. The Conservatives forming a coalition with the political wing of the Old Testament. The Democratic Unionist Party. I always worry when I see that word democratic in a name. It's like Democratic Republic of North Korea. What's that word doing in there? It's like calling yourself a non-rapist hypnotist. Of course, Theresa May can't really say that she's got a mandate anymore, because if the DUP hear the words mandate, they start screaming about sodomy. It's going to be interesting to see which of their policies get into the Queen's speech. This year, gay pride shall be renamed gay shame. I think if this does restart trouble in Northern Ireland, the Conservatives are going to feel a deep regret that they can't sell them weapons. I've never really understood, to be honest, the link between homophobia and loyalism. Because the Orange Walk, I'm not saying the Orange Walk is gay. All I'm saying is, if I was trying to prove that I wasn't gay, that's not how I personally would go about it. Who are you calling gay? Fetch me my majorette stick and my big ribbon. I'm about to perform a wee routine that will leave you looking rather foolish. Of course, the favourite now to be Prime Minister is Boris Johnson, a cross between a head injury and an unmade bed. A bouncy castle with Alzheimer's. It's not just that he's the worst person for the job, he might be the worst mammal. OK, let's get on with the show. Joining me to discuss this week's big topics, please welcome Sarah Pascoe and Catherine Ryan. Sarah, have you been following the whole kind of coalition, minority government?
I've stopped looking at the news. I've got a WhatsApp group called People I Agree With. Great. I only talk to them now. Instead of a newspaper, I'm getting a self-published zine about Nye Bevan that you can buy on Etsy. I love it.
Welcome back, Catherine. You were in America for the election, weren't you?
Oh, yes. They don't understand, but I told them it's very simple. You know, in their election, the winner actually lost. But here in the UK, the winner, like, sort of won, but lost the majority, but they still won, and then the loser feels like they won, but they didn't win. Only the country that brought you cricket could deliver an election where nobody wins.
Sounds incredibly complex for Americans.
I think it's important to remember that they don't care about us.
I keep forgetting that Trump's kind of postponed his visit, hasn't he? He won't come here, but, like, he was in Saudi Arabia dancing with the people that did 9/11. Anyway, tonight I'll be making two propositions for us to discuss. First up, Theresa May has been given a strong mandate to fuck off. Joining us to discuss all the fallout from the election, please welcome Rob Delaney and data editor of The Guardian US, Mona Chalabi. Guys, have you been following Theresa May's emotional breakdown on several levels?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm delighted. It's really great. She said she would quit if she lost 6 MPs, and she lost, let's see, twice that plus 1.
And she's still there.
And she's still there. But we'll see for how she's sort of there. For the moment.
Because it wasn't 6.
Good point. Yes. Labor overshot.
What about you, Mona? You been enjoying it?
I don't know, it's just been awkward to watch, hasn't it? A very, very uncomfortable viewing. I'm not sure if I completely agree with this statement, though, because she did actually increase her vote share quite significantly since 2015. It went up from 37% to 42%, and she got hugely more votes, and people keep on mentioning this. The thing to kind of keep in mind, though, is that Conservatives have actually done remarkably well on some measures, but because of the epic failure of other parties, they've scooped up loads of votes from UKIP voters and also from the SNP in Scotland. They increased the number of seats in Scotland from 1 to 13. It's kind of remarkable, right?
Yes, it's horrifying that Scotland's actually done that to itself, hasn't it? Not like Scotland to self-harm in any way.
But just the speed at which all of that has changed is sort of amazing, isn't it? That UKIP got a 13% vote share just 2 years ago and now barely managed to get 2%.
They're now sort of the Lord Bucketheads of racism. Anyway, to clarify what we're talking about here, nobody doubts that if Theresa May had won a majority, she would have torn up our human rights while rising slowly into the air like Magneto. But she didn't. And now she looks like a cat that knows it's dying. The only significant difference between her and someone who thinks they are Prime Minister on a psychiatric ward is a salary. So Theresa May travelled around the country for the election. Every marginal that she visited, she lost. It's not like she's a bad leader. She's like patient zero of an anti-Tory virus. And in this week, where she should have been preparing for Brexit negotiations, she's literally sat right now in a room with the DUP, listening to someone say, "So, on to the question of juggling on the Sabbath." During the election, Boris Johnson tried to avoid the opposition, but was finally cornered in this excruciating moment on Sky News.
Well, of course, it's very, very important for people to focus on what the two potential leadership
Why
candidates...
wouldn't you go head-to-head with me today, Boris?
I'm being heckled by some Labour MP whose name... Andrew Gwynn, who's just... I think, if you want to come and join me, come on then, you big girls' bladders, come on then, come on. Are you leaving the customs union?
We are leaving the European Union.
I asked him this last time.
Boris,
remember, I asked him this last time.
Boris, I'm sorry to say
yes. I'm so sorry.
Don't be a pig. Okay.
Because he just took a man and tried to throw him down. A lot of times he's so bumbling, but that's just like a physical manifestation of his policies, which are just fuck off to the ground. So I think that was an honest moment from him. I liked it.
You can tell you're losing a political argument when there's unsanctioned judo.
You have to hand it to Boris, though. At least he's having fun, because he thinks he's got a shot, whereas so many of the other people defending May now, it's just like flop sweat. You just want to mercy kill them. You see them trying to defend her, and you can tell they're just having diarrhea as they talk to the camera. So, good on him.
But that's the thing, he's having a nice time because none of this can hurt him. Yeah. He's in such a privileged position, it's like he's playing Monopoly.
Also, he's used to abuse from private school, isn't he?
Don't make me feel sorry for him.
But yeah, I sort of imagine he's from the kind of family where he comes home at Christmas and he has to put his name down for a hug or something.
No, I met Boris Johnson's dad, and the trouble is, nobody's awful. He was really nice to me, and then at the end of the record, he said, "Well done. Now, is this your real job?" He's like, "Do you have a job that you do in the daytime?"
That's because he's used to hanging out with hookers.
I have to say, for legal reasons, that is not the case. To the best of our knowledge. After Sunday's reshuffle, May's cabinet remained largely unchanged, except for one unexpected addition. Watch how a buoyant Michael Gove couldn't hide his joy at being welcomed back into government.
I was quite surprised, I have to say. I was down in Surrey, and I was just enjoying the afternoon with a friend when suddenly the phone rang, and there was an invitation to go to number 10 Downing Street. Of course, I knew that today was reshuffle day, but I genuinely didn't expect this role. So I am delighted to be part of the government and delighted to be able to support Theresa.
What I love about that story is just, like, the whole idea that he was really surprised when his phone rang because he was with his only friend. It's like, well, you're here!
Do you think telephone ever in history has been answered faster. Yes!
He's kind of like their thing now is they have to appeal to the youth vote that they've lost. And they've got, what, Michael Gove back? Why? Because he appears in children's nightmares or something. Mona, you've been looking at some stats to do at the election.
Yeah, I was looking at, as appallingly as Theresa May did, she kind of did surprisingly well in some respects. So there's loads and loads of research on how women are just believed less than men, even when they say the same thing. And part of the reason for that is because women are 3 times more likely to use the expression "I think," whereas men tend to state their opinions as a matter of fact. So basically, if you're a woman and you want to say something like, "I think I want a sandwich," and you want to be believed, you need to say something like, "A man told me that I want a sandwich."
Moving on. With Theresa May failing to gain a majority, she had no choice but to prop up her government with the help of the Democratic Unionist Party. The DUP have a colourful history. Take a look at this alarming footage from a 1985 documentary of the recently re-elected Gregory Campbell.
It's coming round to the band season again. And you know, there's one thing the Republicans don't like, and they don't like it in this city, and that's Protestants marching for their rights and for all that they hold dear.
I have no doubt that in that type of a situation, I would be out on the streets with the people.
With arms?
Yes, with arms.
There we go, he was just elected an MP.
I've actually listened to my own stand-up while loading a gun before. It's for different reasons, so I can sort of relate to him.
I like the way the documentary crew came in and went, "Well, we'll get a shot of you before the speech." He was like, "Shall I do some admin?" Many Conservatives tried to avoid discussing the DUP and they made it aftermath of May's deal. Here's how windswept Ruth Davidson tackled the issue.
What I spoke to the Prime Minister about yesterday was the need for a categoric assurance that talking with the DUP would not result in any rollback of LGBTI rights in the rest of the UK, because as the Conservative Party, we are the party of equal marriage, we introduced it to the House of Commons, and also that we would use our influence to try and advance LGBT rights in Northern Ireland. And their assurances that I got.
Ian Paisley, sorry.
That's gay self-defense that they teach you when you're very young. When you're gay and you hear the words Ian Paisley, you just run away.
Yeah. Ruth Davidson is a secret weapon, though, and they've got more plans for her. I mean, she is an LGBTI Scottish working class Tory woman. They're like, listen, could you date a black lady and lose a limb? It's a diversity home run.
I don't know, it's not so much of an achievement to appeal to hatred and division in Scotland. There's another interesting headline here from the DUP, from the Belfast Telegraph. DUP MP Gregory Campbell wants sale of Ouija boards regulated. That was that guy who was loading the gun. He's worried about people coming from hell.
I think he's just scared because the one time he used a Ouija board, his dead grandmother told him he was an asshole.
She wasn't even dead.
How are they getting policies from like 1,000 years ago if they're not communicating with the dead?
So, in conclusion, Theresa May was not alone in miscalculating the outcome of the general election. The pollsters, the Blairites, Tim Farron, everyone got it wrong. Well, I say everyone. When Theresa May called the election back on April the 18th, I wrote a prediction on a piece of paper and sealed it in an envelope. This is that envelope. Mona, would you open this envelope and read out what I wrote? Could you read it out for us, please?
Okay. It says James Corden is a prick.
Sorry about that, James, if you're watching. I think I sent you the wrong letter. OK, on to the next proposition, which is this. Donald Trump will save the world. Of course, Trump is a very real disaster for everybody on Earth. He's pulled out of the Paris climate deal, probably because he decided he doesn't care what the climate is like in Paris. He's massively stepped up drone strikes, appointed a climate change denier as head of the Environmental Protection Agency, and nullified a bill blocking sales of guns to the mentally ill. But at least now the whole world has a common enemy. Really, we couldn't have had a clearer message that we all need to set aside our differences and work together if America had elected the Daleks. Say what you like about Donald Trump, but he's done things that people said were impossible, like made Twitter worse. I always think Trump speaks a bit like a husband who lost control of the domestic finances in the week before he hangs himself. Yeah, I did some really successful business today. Business meeting, it was really successful. Really? Because Diane said that she saw you down the park. Did a park meeting! Yeah! Some really successful park business going on. Rob, do you have any feelings about whether Trump could save the world?
Yeah, I think he will. He's got some Scottish teenager is going to campaign so hard for Corbyn that he'll become the prime minister, I think, by October 15th, and then the U.S. will see that left populists can win in the UK, and then we'll wipe out the GOP Congress in 2018, and then the world will be saved.
Now, one of Trump's proudest moments of his presidency was setting the repeal of Obamacare in motion. Here he is celebrating that victory, surrounded by prominent Republicans. There we go, the cast of Prostate Cancer, the musical. Of course, many Americans don't share Trump's views on Obamacare. Watch how one Republican congressman learned that the hard way in this combative footage.
No one wants anybody to die. You know, that line is so indefensible. Nobody dies because they don't have access to health care.
The only feasible economic plan you have is to build the border wall out of corpses of people you have denied health care to.
It's tough to heckle at a town meeting like that and have it not absorbed as brainstorming. You know, it's like corpses for the wall.
Can I say how many corpses it is?
Please.
It's 45,000 Americans each year who die directly as a result of not having health insurance. And it's so important to say these numbers because we are going in a similar direction. Yeah. It's petrifying. Yeah. But people keep on voting against their interests. It just doesn't make any sense. If you look at the way that every single constituency in the UK voted, constituencies where there was a bigger percentage of people in poor health voted Tory.
Maybe they just want to die.
Yeah.
Get rid of the NHS, I want out of this. So, Trump makes a lot of gaffes, but take a look at him failing to understand what a metaphor is, something he does quite a lot.
As George W. Bush said, the reason the Oval Office is round is there are no corners you can hide in.
Well, there's truth to that. There's truth to that. There's certainly no corners. And you look, there's a certain openness, but there's nobody out there. You know, there is an openness, but I've never seen anybody out there, actually, as you could imagine.
But what he meant was it all comes back to you.
Sure. It does. But I think that's true anyway, but it does.
But what noted moron George W. Bush meant, and he doesn't even know.
I loved it that he said it with the resignation of someone who had tried to play hide and seek in there. There's no corners.
So, earlier this year, Trump embarked on his first international tour. While in Saudi Arabia, Trump sent his daughter Ivanka to address a social media conference instead of him. Take a look at this haunting footage of her trying to engage the crowd.
We just came from the opening of a new center to combat terrorism and ideology around terrorism, and we saw that it was built in 30 days. 30 days. That is entrepreneurialism. Once again, we want to thank the Deputy Crown Prince for his vision, his hard work, and for the flawless execution of 2 amazing days here in Saudi Arabia.
I think first up, don't say execution. But like Saudi contractors with people who are essentially slaves.
I think that was a clever choice of words done intentionally, so everyone who was like zoning out because they were bored, like, flawless execution.
But also, honestly, it's actually really, really dark and frightening. It came out this week. Factory workers who assemble her clothing line are paid £130 a month and are so impoverished that they can't even afford to live in the same house as their children. Like, they're just doing absolutely disgusting things.
Yeah.
Or you can see why she arrived in Saudi Arabia and went, oh, this looks good.
Yeah. That's true.
Melania saw how women were treated in Saudi Arabia and tried to claim asylum, apparently. I wonder about the First Lady, because she seems not a monster like him. As you can see in this news clip from a rally, she's often visibly frightened when public speaking.
Thank you. Let us pray. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
To me, that's just like The Omen 6 or something. That's just the start of some horrendous horror movie. She's living a horror movie. She looks like she's trying to unlearn English.
If you watch old videos of Melania, you're right. She has unlearned English. She is less good at English than she was 10 years ago. And I feel like she's mentally regressing to the time before she knew him. She's now the only Make-A-Wish patron who's also a client.
I wonder if, as she unlearns English, she starts to understand Donald better. Oh, this makes sense now.
This life is not a good life. And they show all those photos she takes on her social media, just looking out.
Speaking of that, you know that she has like a First Lady Twitter account, and she put up a picture the other day. There we go. Looking forward to the memories we'll make in our new home. Looking forward to the memories. There's someone who's living in the moment. Oh, I can't wait till this is just a memory. She's lit candles in the day, and you can see how they've been blown out just by her screaming at this. Trump sometimes conducts business in a sleazy manner, as this documentary following him around Scotland demonstrates.
Miss Scotland, remember? So you won't be going to the Miss Universe pageant, and who's going? Who's going? How do you rate her?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
You think she's good?
Yeah.
So she have your
Oh, I don't know. I'd need to.
Yeah. Are you from this area? That's not so bad. That's close enough. Okay. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
She may want to work for sales and such, right?
Yeah.
Sales and stuff. I imagine there's a lot of stuff.
That and stuff is working hard.
The thing is, that is such a good example. I'm not saying anyone in the audience, but people at home, those guys who go up to girls they don't know at bus stops, and the girl politely laughs at you because you're terrifying. That's what it looks like.
Yeah.
Like, she doesn't like you. She's scared.
Yeah.
I wasn't. She doesn't like you.
You were naturally drawn to me, and it was fun. Over the years, Trump has put his name to many products, including in 2007 his own range of steaks. Here's Trump's enthusiastic endorsement for his steaks.
When it comes to great steaks, I've just raised the stakes. Trump steaks are the world's greatest steaks, and I mean that in every sense of the word. One bite, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. And believe me, I understand steaks. It's my favorite food.
When he says he understands steak, I think he means I understand the word steak. That's actually postal steak. That's what he's selling there. You order steak, and because that's how hunger works. You go, in 5 to 7 days' time, I'll fancy a steak. Perhaps it'll be left with my neighbour.
I subscribe to Reader's Digest and steak.
Like, that was his business idea, to send meat through the post like a fucking kidnapper? Maybe this is his whole plan, though, that he's just going to... He's trying to just get bigger and bigger so he can build his steak brand. And, like, eventually, like, everyone in the world will get a steak. You know, like that U2 album, right, that nobody wanted.
We just don't open the front door.
You open your front door, there's a steak.
Hey, you said he was going to to save the world. He just fed everyone.
Apart from the vegetarians.
It's a free steak, Mona.
So to sum up, Donald Trump will save the world. And how is he going to save it? Simple. By destroying all human life. He's going to save the world by fucking every single person who lives on it. Standing in an open robe with his shriveled, spray-tanned ballsack, pulsing expectantly, he points a tiny finger at the future of humanity and beckons it to his massive golden fuckbed. Humanity will form itself into a giant, hopeless vagina. I myself will be the clitoris. Or the anus, I haven't decided yet. Nor do I know if I'll be given the option. All I know for sure is that Trump is going to fuck us all. Every man, woman, dog, rhinoceros, rabbit, hooker, dwarf, chicken, James Corden, the Inuit. I only hope God films it. He could show the footage to other civilizations on other planets, both as a warning or as a bit of a treat. But the Earth itself will survive, and eventually, billions of years from now, the Earth will shake off its shame. Every trace of humanity will be gone, to be replaced by a fresh and wondrous ecology, teeming with life and hope, just in time for it to be obliterated by the exploding sun. And no one will ever know that Donald Trump saved the world, apart from God, of course, until he too forgets when he's eventually consumed by celestial dementia. Just time to thank my guests. Thanks to Sarah Pascoe, Catherine Ryan, Rob Delaney and Mona Callaghan. But before I go, I'd like to leave you with this thought. Earlier this month, something extraordinary happened. A 31-year-old climber, Alex Honnold, completed a 3,000-foot rope-free ascent of El Capitan in Yosemite National Park. Impressed as I am by his almost superhuman tenacity, Honnold's grip on that sheer Californian granite is as nothing compared to Theresa May's determination to cling on to power. She has almost no footholds left, only a few weirdly shaped crags of the DUP to claw at with her feverish fingertips. 1,000 feet from the ground with no safety net, no route up or down, just a howling gale of criticism buffeting her from all directions. And yet, she hangs on. She has no choice. Cling on or disappear, exist or die. And that's why, deep down, I admire her. In a way, I love her. Theresa May is all of us, clinging on to our hopeless lives, our shitty dreams. She's locked in to an existential rictus of terror, devoid, as we know, of any other human quality except tenacity, having no spark of wit, no warmth, no sincerity, no empathy, nothing except her refusal to let go and tumble away onto the blessed release of the rocks below. What a fucking monster. Good night.
With live music